FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is April 20th, 2017. So we're all in a quandary what to do with our investments. Where do you put your money, especially if you're getting closer to retirement? A new book is out by a frequent guest of ours, Michael Eastham. Michael, we put out this book, Common Sense Income Strategies. So congratulations are in order.
Thanks so much, Kerry, and appreciate it. And it's great to be back on your program.
Hey, so when you write a book, it's really a commitment. You have to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of focus away from other things that you might be doing. So because it's such a commitment, you really have to have a strong goal for doing it. Why? What was your goal in writing the book?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I found, Kerry, is that in today's economic and investment environment, it makes a lot of sense for baby boomers to take a balanced approach, in their allocations. And that balanced approach needs to be based on a strategy that supports their goals, not one that's in direct conflict. Because, I found that there are a lot of half-truths that are out there in the mainstream financial world, and I want my readers to know the whole truth, because when you know the whole truth about investing, or really anything, it changes the perspective. And here's an example. I mean, if I were to tell you that between my wife and I, Kerry, we run an average of, say, 10 miles a week, well, you're going to get a picture in your mind of a consistent discipline, right? But what if I added and I said, well, actually, my wife runs 20 miles a week, and I don't run at all? Well, the average is still 10, so I've kind of told you the truth, but it's only a half-truth. And when you know the whole truth, it makes a pretty dramatic change in your perspective. So when you see a world where we're inundated with information that's based on past performance and growth expectations, every one of those sources tells us that past performance is no guarantee of future results, yet that's how a lot of investors make decisions. It's almost as if they don't believe it. So we talk a lot about, in the book, we talk about performance or growth investing versus purpose or income-based investing. And those are some of the reasons that I wrote the book.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's very timely, too, when you look at where the stock market indices are. They're damn near at record levels or close to it. And, the old saw stocks climb on a wall of worry. This one's been no exception, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that people try to think about is, well, gee, what's going up, and it's always going to go up. But yet they know in their gut, their gut instinct tells them, the market comes back down. And when it comes back down, it comes back down hard. If I'm in retirement, then how's that going to affect me? And so we answer that question so that people can recognize that, hey, there are other ways to approach retirement, other ways to accomplish your retirement goals if the strategy is in place to do just that, and not just crossing your fingers and toes and hoping the stock market continues to go up.
Yeah, and it's just like in real estate, house prices always go up. And that might be true in the long run, but then we had the crash and home prices went way down, and now they've recovered. But so on average, it looks good. But if you were over leveraged in 2008, 2009, and were buying homes just for the appreciation, not for the cash flow, it took you quite a while to get out of that morass.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So in balance, what do you look for when you're looking for balance here?
Well, look, there's a whole universe of income-generating investments, things that are designed to not speculate, not designed so much for growth, but they're designed to pay interest and dividends. And they can be anything from guarantees like fixed annuities to things that are a little more risky like real estate investment trusts, and things in between, individual bonds, preferred stocks. All of those things in that spectrum are more designed for people to generate predictable, tangible, and systematic returns. And when I talk about tangible returns, I'm talking about cash. I mean, in retirement, people need to realize that it's not about how big my balance is, it's how much cash can I generate. And one of the questions that I ask people quite regularly is, if I gave you a choice and I said, well, you can have $1 million bucket of money, but you can only take $20,000 out of it a year for the rest of your life, or you can have a $500,000 bucket of money and you can take $30,000 a year for the rest of your life. Which one would you take? And most people say the $500,000 pot because they get more income. And that hits home with a lot of folks because they realize that accomplishing goals in retirement, Carrie, is about generating enough income to make sure that that I can sleep at night and I've got the income covered.
Yeah. And so initially, nobody really wants to invade the principal, right? They don't want to grab their principal. And because when you start doing that, then you have to figure out how long am I going to live? Is my money going to be gone before I am? And I think that's a huge fear among many of you out there.
That's absolutely right. And we address what I refer to as the retirement red zone, that within 10 years or so of retirement, but really the book applies to anybody. The principles and the strategies identified in the book are good for anyone, but it's specifically designed for baby boomers, folks that are in that retirement red zone, or they've already retired. And they really need to answer that question, how do I make my money last as long as I do? Because you and I both know that longevity is an issue in today's environment with increases in medical technology. People are living longer. And I just sat with a client this morning who, her mother was 94 years old before she passed away. And, you got to plan for that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And if you last 90 years and your money runs out at 85, you're going to have problems.
That's right. That's right. Especially when you factor in inflation and other things that can affect your need for income.
Yeah. So there's obviously no hard and fast rules here, right? There's no definite ways of doing it. How do you craft a strategy?
Well, one of the things that we do is whenever, and again, it's laid out in the book as far as the details, but, when we sit down with a client, we help them identify, well, what's the amount of income you need, at least today, to be comfortable and accomplish the goals that you have. And then we look at sources of income, whether it's pensions, if they have that, or Social Security, 401ks, IRAs, savings, all those things. And we develop a reasonable expectation of income. And generally, we target that 4 to 7% interest and dividends, which in today's environment is still a pretty reasonable target to hit without taking on too much risk, so that we can help people to see, well, this is about how much income we can generate from your portfolio or from your sources to fill the gap that you need. And then we lay out a plan based on those investment options that I talked about a little while ago.
Right. So what are your favorite investments at this point, Michael?
Well, I have some personal favorites, but these don't apply to everyone. I really like business development companies. I like REITs. I like preferred stocks. I have a lot, and those are some of my personal favorites. But I have other clients that they would prefer to have certainty. So fixed or indexed annuities work for them. Individual corporate bonds as opposed to bond funds. And there's some specific reasons that we outline in the book as to why it's important when you're investing for income to look at individual bonds versus bond funds. But so it really depends. But those are the things that I tend to lean towards from my own strategy.
Yeah. So, and I guess it depends upon your age as well, right?
It depends on age. It depends on assets. It depends on spousal needs for additional income. All of these things are in the context of trying to make sure that each person has a customized strategy that works for them. And one of the things that we outline in the book for people, and this is a great reason to pick it up, is that we help the reader learn how to thoroughly vet financial advisors to make sure that they get the right match. They talk, if they're not going to do it themselves and they want help from a financial advisor, you have to make sure that you are talking to an advisor who's well-versed and experienced in these types of investments. Because the traditional financial advisor that focuses on common stocks, mutual funds, is not going to be able to help you make that shift from performance to purpose-based investing.
Mm-hmm. So purpose-based investing, that's what we need to reacclimate ourselves towards.
Exactly.
So I'm sure you've got lots of people. Just tell us about somebody who came in where you really did totally reevaluate and redirect their portfolio.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got a great story. I mean, well, it ended up great, but I had a widow who came into my office in 2008. She was 68 years old. She had lost 40% of her accounts, and she was on the verge of tears when she came into my office. And I asked her what happened. She told me that her advisor, after her husband passed away, he was the one that managed the assets. An advisor looked at her portfolio and said, well, you should be earning 10 to 12%. So that's how he invested in mutual funds and a few common stocks, but mostly mutual funds. By the time she got so sick to her stomach, she had already lost 40%, and she pulled the money out. And I said to her, did your advisor ever talk to you about the amount of income you need in order to live comfortably in your retirement? And she looked at me like I had three eyes. Yeah. And so we did it. We did the math. And it turned out she only needed about 4% interest and dividends to live comfortably. So think about the difference in risk level between 4% and 10%. It's orders of magnitude, and those are the changes that people get to benefit from our strategies and the strategies laid out in Common Sense Income Strategies.
Right. So it's sometimes the solution that you're looking for can be very simple, and chasing the highest possible yield can be a very risky strategy. So especially for an older person, right? You get into junk bonds. I mean, most people should not be in junk bonds, right?
Right. That's right. Yeah. And again, most advisors, this isn't a knock against the industry, but the reality is we're all trained the same way. We're trained to focus on stock market-based programs and to generate yield for our clients. And so you're right. I mean, somebody might be in a junk bond fund that has a nice-looking yield today, but 2 years from now that interest rates are starting to edge up, well, those bond funds are going to lose value, and you could have a serious problem with a large portion of your investments.
Yeah, big problem. And then it becomes, do I find a job, new income sources, and kind of becomes a panic. So
nobody wants to do that in retirement.
No. So planning ahead as soon as you can is probably the most important thing.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I've got one of the 7 pillars of wealth that I outline in the book is to be forward-looking. Plan ahead. I mean, time goes by so quickly. I'm sure you can relate to that. I mean, my oldest daughter is 23 years old, and I swear last week she was 6 months. And time just goes by. Yeah,
time has a way of doing that to you for sure. And book, I like the title, Common Sense Income Strategies, Simple Step-by-Step Ways to Maximize Your Retirement. And sounds like it's much needed because chasing yield is definitely not the way to have a successful retirement. So Michael, we want to get the book, want to connect with you on the internet. How do we do that?
Yeah, you can go to commonsenseincomestrategies.com. That's commonsenseincomestrategies.com. You can order it on Amazon right there, right off of the page, or you can download the white paper, Retirement Red Zone, or the Red Zone of Retirement, which is something that we put together to help listeners and help readers to see where they fall and what they should be doing.
All right. Well, hey, we will have a link to your site in the show notes to this interview, as always. If you got any questions or comments for me or Michael, send me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. That's kl@kerrylutz.com. The Twitter feed's @KerryLutz. The Facebook page is Financial Survival Network. Michael, good luck on the book, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Kerry. Appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.